great. All right. Well, welcome everybody. We're experiencing some technical issues here, but I want to bring on my dear friend, Representative Tim Akert of the 8th District. And he's a great conservative Republican in the state and really beloved by his district and reelected. How many times is it now, Tim?
So this is my 7th time I've won.
7 times.
Yeah. And if you remember, Dan, I ran twice before, not successful, but figured it was worth to keep trying to get in there and make a difference. And so that's what I've looked forward to doing, is making a difference for the constituents for the state of Connecticut. And been there, honored to be there now for my 7th term. So thank you to the constituents.
Yeah. And look, I mean, that's a testament that you're doing what your folks in town, in the towns you represent, want, right?
Yeah.
You're accessible to them. You have all the things I like to see in a good, hardworking legislator. Is that you're doing the work in the district and at the Capitol, and that's reflected by you getting reelected again, and especially this last cycle, which was so contentious that if there was ever a time a conservative was going to get knocked out, even though they weren't part of the other thing going on the hard right of the party, that would have been the time you would think that it would happen. But when you're doing a good job and your constituents know it, you're back in action. And I'm happy that you're reelected, because I think you do a good job for the people up there.
You can tell them in Hartford, right?
I think they're coming for you. Maybe I shouldn't have said all that stuff. Is there something you want to admit? That's right. Wait until the fire and the smoke gets to you, down to your head level before you crawl out.
Then run.
All right. So you just had a couple of your first meetings, because session starts tomorrow.
Right.
And tell the folks what those were about. One was crumbling foundations.
Correct. As people know, in Eastern Connecticut, multiple towns, 11 specifically, in around Collin, Coventry. My district, essentially, in many cases, has bad concrete. Pyrrhotite that's in the mixture, and comes from a quarry that had issues, and water and air get to this pyrrhotite and create a crumbling foundation issue. So we had an update on it, and it was, I don't want to say that was good news, but to me, it's like better news, where they actually surveyed a lot of the commercial and public property. So like your schools, your fire departments, your police stations. We did have to replace the school at Birch Grove and Tallinn. We got that funded. We worked hard to get that funded by the state of Connecticut. That's you, yes, us taxpayers. But that school was in disrepair and unsafe for children and teachers and staff. So, but overall, they did a research, and they found, because of how commercial concrete, and construction, commercial buildings are done differently than residential buildings. A lot of them don't have basements, right? Where they just have slab on grade. And it's a different kind of construction. So what was the good news is, to us, the people that are fixing these, the taxpayers are paying for this, and it doesn't seem to be a problem with public buildings. So that's a widespread. That's great. Homes, there's over 2,000 claims right now for crumbling foundations in the state of Connecticut. Almost 7 of them have been completely repaired, with another 800 ready, in the queue, sort of say, overall, that have looked at it. So it's in the process. What we started years ago, we identified the issue, and have taken care of it. And that's one of the proudest piece of legislation that I've worked on, and I continue to work on. There was a presentation given to us that maybe we need to have a little better standards for residential concrete than we do now. And so that was kind of what that was there. So overall, good meeting. Also had a meeting with Eversource this morning about their astronomical rate hike, and how it's out of their hands in terms of how Pura has designed how they do bidding to get their rates. So, there are ways. You go to energizect.com and you can pick a different supplier, and it is safe. That's another piece of legislation I worked diligently on third-party suppliers that cannot charge you to get out of a contract early if you so choose to. Read the fine print on everything I say, though. But you can save 8 to 9 cents a kilowatt hour by going to some of these other suppliers for long term, like 3 years. You can sign up for like 3 years. Yeah, 3 years. And again, Energize CT, look up suppliers. And don't get, and be honest. We have Office of Consumer Counsel that deals with these things, and Department of Consumer Protection, and the Attorney General's office if anything comes around with these suppliers. So if you want to save some money, you got high electric bills, they're going to get higher starting this month because Eversource rate is 24 point something cents a kilowatt hour. You can get 15 to 16 cents a kilowatt hour by a third-party supplier. Back in the day, third-party suppliers would take advantage of it. They give you that teaser rate for like 4, 5, 6 months. And they wouldn't tell you that they're going to raise it like double, or 25% over the next, 4 months or something and literally increase it. So now we've changed that. You can't.
Oh, that's good.
You can't do that anymore. We actually almost kicked them out of the state, the third-party suppliers.
Yeah, there was, and this was fairly recently. Did that just go into law now? Or?
Over the last couple of years, I actually was awarded, given a thank you / award by AARP because of how I help protect seniors on these
yeah, they'd go like 6 months, and then it was from $150 to $575. And
yep, it actually happened to me. I have being an electrical contractor, I actually have an all electric house. It was because I put it in, and I would always shop these rates, and I got this great teaser rate for, I don't know, let's say 6 cents a kilowatt hour. And I didn't really pay attention to it. Next thing I know, I'm 19 cents a kilowatt hour, and everybody else is paying 9. And I saw that electric bill in the middle of winter go, oh boy, that was a mistake. So all the savings I got on the upfront, I paid it all back dearly and toward the end of the contract. So, but those rates are gone. So you've got to monitor it. You've got to do your due diligence, right? You got on there, 16 cents is good for 32 months, 36 months, something like that. Hey, in 36 months, you may forget about it, right? And then they have the ability to raise it 25, 30 cents. But it's good to shop. Hey, listen, if you got somebody that's good in the household that can look at rates and likes to look at this stuff, now's the time to do it because the Eversource rate is good for 6 months. They may drop it down. It's more than likely going to drop down after the 6 month in June or July. You may then want to get out of that third-party rate and jump back to Eversource. So you can do that once you sign back up with Eversource. Within 72 hours, you're on that rate. So it's a good opportunity for people to get into that. So that's something that happened this month also.
So is the supplier the person that generates the electricity, or are they like a middle person who takes it from the generator and then sells it to you?
So your energy providers buy from suppliers. Exactly right. So they'll go out to the market, procure a contract with them, get the rates from them. And that's what Eversource does. They go out and they go and procure from people right now. Whoever you want to blame on the federal level and or overseas, the natural gas prices are high, right? Natural gas prices are high right now. So Eversource goes out in the bidding market. Not a lot of people out there to compete. They weren't really a lot of people looking to procure with Eversource for whatever given reason. So they had a small group to get bids from, and they came behind. And so Eversource says they don't make money on it. I don't mean they don't make money. They can't make, I'm sure they get recoup costs. They're always allowed to recoup the cost that they go to do something. So it's always been something that if it costs me $1 million to go do this, I get recouped by the ratepayers. That's it. They can't make money on it though. They can't, raise their stock prices from something like the supplier side. So they can't do that. They can't mark up what they get, what's charged to them, and they can't make money. But they must get administrative costs. I mean, you've got to. You can't take a hit, So
sure. And so then, excuse my ignorance on this, but so then you have Eversource and United illuminating, and they take care of our wires and the infrastructure, right?
That's a delivery charge, right? So you have, Dan, you're nailing it here, right? People are losing their mind on the delivery charge because that is storm-related poles taken down, transformers, right? Higher pay for their employees, things like that, where that's all built into the delivery charge. And so that's what people go, why is my electric bill $40 that I use for electricity, but my bill's $150? Why am I paying triple the amount? That's because they got to get the power to your house. And that's the cost to do that. And PURA, Public Utility Regulatory Authority, which is a nonpartisan, we can't control them. The General Assembly cannot control them. They've taken the legislation out of the legislators. They've taken rate, anything to do with rates out of the legislature's control. And we've given it to PURA, Public Utility Regulatory Authority, and they do their research. They do their oversight. It's regulatory. They can find UI and or Eversource if they find that they're doing something faulty. So they're the ones that kind of say, okay, Eversource goes in and it's called a rate case. I've actually testified at a rate case, which is like they're going to say, hey, I want to jack my rates up to this amount, or this is what I need. And I go and I'll testify. I've testified against them. So you can go on your court case. You actually got to raise your right hand, the whole 9 yards. Wow. And you actually testify on behalf of ratepayers is what I did. And then that case is they develop it and they come up with what Eversource deserves to get paid for their services to the state of Connecticut electrical users.
I see. Is that similar to how they do like insurance rates and that stuff? They have like a regulatory kind of board that the insurance is like, we're raising our rates 75%, and then it goes back and it's like, no, you get 30 or whatever.
That's right. That's usually what we've heard lately on long-term care insurance, where people have long-term care insurance, and the companies come in and they, these poor people that are retired, that have been buying this insurance for a long time. Now it's time for them to use it, and it's like, oh, you know what? We didn't really do a good job actuarially to estimate what this should have really cost. So we need to get 4 times the amount. And then, the Department of Insurance will say, no, you only get 30% increase. Well, that still hurts the consumer, right? They go, hey, wait a minute. I could afford $90 a month. Now you're telling me I got to pay this, and then it's going to go up another 30% another year, and then 30% another year. Oh, wait a minute. This, so what a lot of people do, unfortunately, is they drop that insurance, and the insurance companies go, yay. We got you for 20 years, and now you're not going to use the insurance for your long-term care because you can't afford it. So, yeah, it's been something we've been working on for the last 3 years, about 4 years. We've seen to get it under control, but boy, long-term care insurance was this, panacea of, okay, I'm going to pay this amount, $30 a month for the next 40, whatever years, right? And then when I need long-term care, I'm going to draw from that. And they're going to take care of me. Well, the prices. Long-term care is astronomical, right? And that's where they go, hey, we can't pay for it. We don't have the money. The insurance, right? Have you been following this baby bonds thing that I know about it. I haven't dug into it yet.
Yeah, neither have I. I just saw it the other day. Ginny Monk, that great reporter for CT Mirror, she did a piece.
Not that into a piece of legislation they did.
Yeah, and I don't know whether it's good or bad, but it seems like that it was embraced by Sean Wooden of the Treasurer, and then he's moving on. And that now Ned has kind of pushed it off, and we're not going to do it. Maybe a couple of years out. So that's all kind of turning into a political football of, well, you said we're going to do it, and now you're saying we're not. So that would be one that I want to look into a little more.
Yeah, and we should, because here's what happens: we have a budget, as you know, right? Sure. And then we have an implementer.
Right.
And so the budget is the nuts. The budget is the number. Here's what the number is going to be, right? Some details to it. Then there's the implementer, and that's all the gifts.
Gobbledygook.
The gifts that get thrown in, and the nuts
Sweeteners.
and bolts and the AstroTurf field for Fairfield, or I'm picking on Fairfield. Or, my senior center, my
project over there.
Yeah, something, but we call them rats, but I don't think I think it's a disservice to the rats to call them that. It's even worse than a rat. So, it happens. Yep.
Yeah. Do you now, do you know anything about this cool, I think it's an electrical digester plant at the Coventry dairy farm?
I know it very, very, very well.
Really? Okay.
So, I don't know, let's say 8 years ago, I got on Energy Technology Committee, and I heard this word called anaerobic digesters. And I said, time out. You got to fill me in on this. So as the geek I am on energy generation, I looked into that, but the United States has very few of these anaerobic digesters. But overseas, because they don't have the space to get rid of their trash like we do, supposedly we do, that they take their trash and their manure mainly, right? Waste products from animals. They make energy out of it. And gas, natural gas.
And they're doing it, right?
So the Paracchio families at High Tone Farm in Coventry were one I talked with probably 4 years ago. And they talked to, some of these builders. I went up to see one in Massachusetts and see how that digester was being used and built and going online. And what it does is it helps the dairy farmers get rid of their waste. They bring their waste to these anaerobic digesters. They make energy out of it. They don't have large trucking fees because they're not driving it all over the planet to get rid of the stuff. And so it's a bonus to the dairy farmers. It's a bonus to the grid because we're dumping energy into the grid. And I worked on the legislation to get the grants. Matter of fact, I actually helped Fort Hill Farm when they were doing their grant writing back when Peter Orr was the owner there. He's passed on since. His daughter's taken over Fort Hill Farm in Thompson, and they have an anaerobic digester up and running, and they've got they're dumping it right back into the local community, and now they're going to expand up there.
No kidding.
Yeah.
And
so
how many homes does one of these things light up?
So I want to say it'll light up, I think, the town of Thompson is what it sounds like. Not that many, but it's in the megawatts. It's in the megawatts. We're talking. I think Coventry might be 5.3 megawatts, and I could be on. I don't have the booklet in front of me. I have it sitting at my desk at my house. But I did a I would call it a semi ribbon cutting sort of say, and talked, and they had a nice presentation. And it was, but yeah, so I think we need to see more of this. I think we need to see more energy generation in the state from small hydro, which I've been battling to get small hydro up and going.
I like that.
Yeah, we got water. Water moves. Have it turn a generator, and make energy, and it's right nearby.
And then put some pine needles over the top of it so it looks like a pine tree or something.
Yeah,
I agree. And the other thing I noticed about that farm on 44 there was that I think the smell is way down. Like they used to have the giant piles of stuff out there, and
well, it'll be back. It'll be back in the spring. It's not going away. So neighbors of that just went, and it may smell actually a little different. They said so.
No kidding.
Yeah. So, I had drive by there. I don't know 6 times a day. So yeah, I really haven't smelt it now, but I think during the spring it'll come back and be part of their process.
Be a farm,
yeah, and there will be more trucking coming in there, and actually it helps get rid of food waste. So there is a state statute that if you generate a lot of food waste, a grocery store and or a restaurant, that you have to use containers to get rid of your food waste, and that food waste can then go to these plants. It gets dried out, becomes a fuel. So overall, overall it's very good. I said, why don't we have more of these? I think Germany has like 800 or 700 or 800 of them in Germany, but they're small localized generators.
Yeah.
So,
well, do you think there's like a lobby against doing that, like everything else? Whoa, buy it from us.
Yeah. No, not really. I mean, the interconnection fees to the utilities is millions of dollars to interconnect that system.
I
It costs a lot of money. But overall, they don't mind generation coming into theirs. It's how much does it cost us taxpayers and ratepayers to incentivize doing this? That's where you got to watch. What's the financial impact? You know, what are we paying for our electricity? You know, why does it keep going up? Is it because we're putting too much rooftop solar? I just saw a thing in California that they're looking to move away from rooftop solar, which I move toward fields of solar. I'm not this, big solar guy, right? But what they're finding is what people are paying your neighbor. So you have solar on your house, and it does cost money, toward the rates to have solar on homes. It does. We pay a little bit more for that solar than we do, other sources. So the neighbor next door is paying a little tiny bit for you to get cheaper energy, rather than, hey, let's put it in a field and we all benefit from it. These solar fields, these solar farms, right? You put them in bigger, what they call a grid scale, solar, where you dump right into the grid and we all can take advantage of that type of utility, like every other utility out there.
So thank you so much for that. California. Yeah, so much. I saw they were putting it over the cement rivers, which I thought that was kind of cool.
Oh yeah.
It was helped with evaporation and everything else.
What happens when the water comes into the rivers? Does it just go under them?
Yeah, it goes under them. They cover them over the top, and then it helps because evaporation. In California they lose a lot of water that way. So this helps with that, and also puts it in a place where it's really out of the way. It's not, you don't have to cut a forest or two down to put in the 20-year panels or whatever.
Right. Yeah, but it's grid scale that goes right into their main line, and feeds the grid where they all can benefit from that.
That's a good thing. Well, I appreciate the education on all of that. And let's kind of shift gears here. So we went through this horrible election cycle, and now are we facing a supermajority up there at the Capitol, or are we a seat?
You might as well call it that. Might as well call it that. It's
tough
in the House, which is where I serve. Obviously, the number is we actually went backwards. It was not a lot, but and I mentioned this earlier. I heard all about this red wave. Red wave going to happen in Connecticut. We're going to. This happened, and I said to some, as we talked a little bit about, and I said to the people that were calling for the red wave, I says, if you're sitting there looking at the waves, it isn't going to be a wave. You got to be part of the wave. You got to get out, and if there's a candidate that you really like and support, get out and help them. Do something to help this turning around. Listen, there's good people on both sides of the aisle. Balance is what we don't have. When we had balance back, I guess it's 6 years now, 2017, we had the bipartisan budget, they call it. It was actually a Republican budget. It was the only time a minority budget in the country ever passed.
And who was the leader at that time?
At that time, it was... I'm listening. So Themis Claridis?
That's it. Yay!
Right. So Themis Claridis was the leader, but we were balanced. We were within 5, right? In the House.
It was exciting.
Now it's 98 to 53. So I love people go, Representative Akert, what are you going to get done this term?
Yeah, you didn't do anything last time.
I'm working on it. You got to work across the aisle and get your stuff done. What are you going to get done? You got to get rid of this. And I go, well, they actually support that on the other side of the aisle, and they outnumber us 98 to 53. Well, how are you going to get it done? I go, maybe if we got more people like-minded, like us, if we're talking about an issue, that then it would be easier. And when it was 78 to 73, right? We got conversation.
Yeah, you got a seat at the table, and then you got some defectors from the Dems to come over and say, "Look, this is a
good idea.
10 budgets."
Yeah.
And we haven't produced one. So we're going to go with the people who produced a budget to begin with. And the other thing I want to point out about that is that pivot point came with a mantra of the problem is the reason we don't have the governor's office. The reason we don't have this is because we're not conservative enough in Connecticut, and that led to an erosion, in my opinion, of how we began this. We're not going to even talk to those people. This is the way it's supposed to be, and we're for this, and we don't even want to, there's no more talk. We're Donald Trumpers or whatever, and we lost huge.
Yeah.
And now you're looking at a deficit, of all those seats, and it's a rough go. And so, how do you come back from that is really kind of about what we're trying to do on this show, which is to get us all in a room together where we abandon the crazy, fringy rhetoric stuff that's on the social media, and we have honest conversations about issues and leave feeling good, like we actually solved something or understood each other better, and then we can do it again. Yeah,
civility, right? Civility, right? Work together, right? Listen. So if the voters, because obviously right now the Democrats can say, well, our policy is what the voters want, because guess what? We're the ones in major control, right?
Right.
So when we thought we were going to maybe pick up a constitutional office, I know you had Harry Aurora on. I like Harry. Oh my gosh, what a smart man! That gentleman is a smart man. Mm-hmm. In finances, and what a treasure he would have been for the state of Connecticut. But we didn't pick up. We're exactly. Somebody said, "How'd the elections go?" I said, "Well, exactly the same." They go, "What do you mean?" They go, "It's almost exactly the same. Like we didn't even need to have an election."
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
In terms of numbers, you have to have an election. In terms of numbers,
I think that, in my opinion, the top of the ticket didn't produce vision of how it was going to make people's lives better. It focused on, crime being out of control when the statistics didn't really back that up, and a number of pocketbook issues that really were more about cutting this and cutting that without saying, how are you going to solve this problem?
Right.
And responsible legislators like yourself, even like Anne Dauphiné and my politics probably couldn't be further apart, but she recognized early on that I'm backing Peter Lamage because he represents conservatives with civility. Right, he stands by his principles, mm-hmm. and this other candidate, Leora Levy, is all over the place and demonstratively, has switched her position to be whatever anybody wants or pandered to people. And when our operatives on the Republican side, feel that they're not going to win, they just go and take whoever's money is out there, and we get sold down the river. I mean, it's kind of an exponential thing that builds up, in my opinion. And who gets damaged by that is good folks like yourself, thankfully got through. But we have to be looking at what do the people in Connecticut want? Right? Because we are fiscally conservative people, right? Mm-hmm. And we're socially moderate in many ways. And when you look at the unaffiliated voters who break Republican most of the time, they're not repatriating to the state party because they're feeling that the messaging coming out of it does not reflect the values that they want. Whereas good local conservatives like you resonate. You realize you lead everybody in town. Your door's open to anybody who walks in there, and you may not agree with who's coming in, but at least you're having that conversation and not just shutting down and saying, "Oh, you're a communist, so I'm not talking to you." And
I listen. The part of it is, being a legislator, being in town. If you want to make an impact, you have to be listening to everybody.
Yeah.
You can't come to this building, work on legislation, and not know what the majority of the people want. You'll people get mad at me. They say, Tim, I can't believe you voted for that legislation. And I go, where were you 2 weeks ago? And you could have said, Tim, you got this legislation coming, because we're not engaged. We're not engaged.
Mm-hmm.
And it's hard to be engaged. I get it. Our lives are busy. Yeah. Do I want to get on? It's interesting. I can't tell you how many people I met after November, right? Yeah, I mean, hundreds. And if half of them did say, hey, did you get reelected? Yeah.
Actually.
Well, because I voted for you. You got in, right?
Yeah.
That's not what's important in their lives until when it is important.
Exactly. It's always after the fact, right? Like, oh yeah, well, this went up by that much. Yeah. And they're like, well, why did you let that happen? And I didn't let it happen. You weren't engaged. We didn't get a majority, or we didn't get the seats we needed to be able to
stop it.
To stop.
We have this thing coming up, and I'll jump to this. It's the highway use tax.
Mm-hmm. So
when you think about everything going up, right?
The grocery store, that to me is a bad deal, man. That's a bad deal.
Other states, so highway use tax, for the listeners out there, is your trucking companies, right? No matter what they are, depending on the size of the vehicle, I think it's 26,000 and up, gross vehicle weight, will now pay a use tax for the roads. And it's on the honor system, which cracks me up. I don't know what to do it. Yep, I got on the road.
I went through the state 3 times, and I went 25 miles.
Yeah, I got right. and they got a self-report. I said, that's hysterical. I said, so you're going to have somebody self-report how many miles they drive in the state of Connecticut?
Well, how many?
And send a check in. Right. Send a check in, or do it online, right? Right. And so I have like trucking companies going to me, are you joking? So my 10, 15 triaxles that I have to pay this use tax on now. So the product I put in the triaxle is going to a town, your town. And now they got
so I don't realize, is that just interstate, or is it intrastate?
It's so these are the questions that come out. Is it a highway? Is it the roadway? Is it, what is it? That's, so I actually dove into this deeper than anybody should have. And that question is, it's a road use tax. So is it an interest? So can you imagine that, telling a trucker, okay, all right, when you get on this road, it's a town road, you're safe. Then you turn onto the state road. Now you start documenting how many miles you're on the state road. Okay, then you get on the highway. That's a federal road. And are you kidding me? How would that?
It's split up like that?
No.
Oh, God.
No. Because that's what I'm saying. How are they going? These people are people that get out there. But now, it's how everybody knows how much they're paying for goods in the store right now, right? Everything's gone up. Somebody just sent me a picture of a 18 eggs in a carton. It was $14 for
what?
Eggs in a carton. It literally took a picture of the shelf at the store in Connecticut. 18 eggs is I'm going, I don't know, maybe they're not eggs I would buy. Maybe they're special golden eggs. But
I'm getting a chicken.
I'm getting a chicken. So now these truckers, they don't pay the tax, folks. They are the middle person for you paying the tax for the goods and services that you are now getting from that person in a truck. That's what it is. This is a rollover tax to consumers. No, we're going to take care of our roads and bridges because I didn't get my toll tax, right? I didn't get my tolls. So we're going to go. Other states are going away from this. Other states voted this in and then moved away from it because it didn't work. Nope. We got to hire a lot of people because they got a Department of Revenue Services got to take on this workload. I guarantee you no person paying is going to be perfect. So we got fines and fees and interest, and you're just going to love it in the AG's office, right? More work for them. or attorneys in the agency. It's broken. It's absolutely broken. I have a farmer call me over the weekend. I got to get an answer. I thought we were exempt from this. How are you using the truck?
How much are your eggs?
Yeah. Or your
depends on what you're selling the eggs for.
Yeah. So
yeah, it's a joke.
This went into effect here, and we pushed to eliminate it. No, we can't do this. We can't do this. But guess what?
It always seems like it falls on the poor truckers too. You know what I mean? They're just.
Can you imagine them trying to, okay, what do I got to do? When does this start? and I got to give my money by when?
I can't fill out my logbook.
Right. You can't fill. And now I got to do another thing. And okay, I got on the road here. So I got one trucker. He said, one guy works. He says, my trucks are never leaving the sand pits. They're going to stay and just go back and forth and move dirt around. I don't know. It's absolutely the most ridiculous thing that I've seen come around the corner here. And when states
so burdensome.
Yeah, they'll get the money in fines and interest. They're going to fine these truckers, and then truckers are going to be like, now what do I do? I'm out of business because I didn't know how to do this form and do. It's just absurd. They're going to be going on January 10th to get some marijuana. So they can deal with this thing.
Yeah, and then they're going to tax that more. That's another thing. So they got that whole debacle about ready to start up, right?
Oh.
And what sources say is that in Hartford, you'd pick up an ounce of marijuana for $150. Meanwhile, at the new state dispensary, you're talking $375 for the same exact strain, packaged in the same package because, I don't know how it got that way, but so the black market really never stopped, and in many cases is going to be enhanced by this.
Emboldened. They go, okay, now I'm not. Oh, the person that I just sold it to is walking down the street, and with it in their pocket now, and they can't get in trouble because it's legal that it's now in their pocket, right? Because they own it, and it's a legal substance that they can now carry and have on them, where it wasn't, before. And so, it's still illegal for them to sell the black market piece. But one of the things I heard about when Colorado first came around is that black market never went away. And there's just like, you know what? I maybe can raise my prices because if they're charging 35% tax, I ain't charging any tax. Maybe I can raise my rates a little bit on the black market. So we'll see how we can control that.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's all problematic. And then another thing that was funny to me is that apparently you're going to be able to grow some plants if you want to.
Yep.
But you can't grow them outside where plants grow. You have to grow them inside where you have to buy more electricity to whatever. You know what I mean? It's wacky.
There's some tweaking that we can do in that, because why can't you put it in, a greenhouse? I mean, we grow in greenhouses now, which is
out on your back,
really like a lot,
or whatever the case may be. But a local person who shall remain nameless thought it was okay because he had a card to have some of this stuff. So he put a few plants around his property or whatever. So one day I'm just kind of hanging out here, and I noticed the police chopper circling. And I'm like, oh, I guess they're coming for me now. I don't know what I did, but but anyway, so they did this huge raid that was on the TV or whatever, and they chopped all these things down. And probably, 10 years ago would have been a serious thing. And they didn't charge him with anything. They just, did a big news job on him, and that was it. Not that they should have, but he didn't know what the law, is this one, or how do you weigh how much a plant weighs when it's in the ground? I don't know. It was bizarre.
it does become a little like, so like this is all legal, except I actually can't grow the thing, because I thought I did support the medical marijuana because it had value for people that I knew that were in cancer treatments, and I supported it and said, okay, let's move in that direction, regulate it, whatever it may be. Then we moved to this, other. I did support people having the ability to grow their own, because the medical part was expensive. If you're going to do it, and I'd rather somebody have a little, smoke if they're going to ease their pain for their chemo treatments or whatever they're going through. So I said I was one that put in legislation to do a self-grow. If you're going to have a medical marijuana card, you might as well be able to self-grow this stuff and take care of yourself. The stuff that on the street is such high. The stuff that we're going to sell in some of these stores and these gummies, people don't know. Some of these gummies, you're supposed to take a nibble of it, because the THC is so low. Yeah, because I'm going to have a gummy bear, and it's gummy bear, and it's like 10 servings of the THC. Oh yeah, and then all of a sudden they're like, and it's like
you're down at the hospital freaking out or whatever.
Yeah, it's just like it's supposed to be a nibble, it's like, who knows that?
Because candy bar, so yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Oh, I'll have half the candy bar,
Yeah.
No.
Right. Yeah.
So yeah, I support the rec stuff, and I played a lot of guitar and stuff. So I never inhaled all those times, but
it's better when you inhale, I hear.
Really?
You're not getting your money's worth.
Yeah. Oh, darn. So anyway, but I guess when Vermont did it, they did it different in the sense, and I don't know the ins and outs of it, but they basically said, look, we don't want the state to turn into our pot dealer. But if people want to grow a few plants at your house and give your buddy a half ounce for Christmas, that's cool. You just don't put it around the kids and everything else. The other thing that's bizarre is apparently you can't smoke it outside.
That's trickier. That's even trickier. Yeah.
You can't grow it. You have to grow it inside, but you can't smoke it outside.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So I like the Vermont method. It's kind of the Vermont one
solution,
because it was like the libertarian.
Yeah.
Do what you want. We're not involved. It's on you. You grow it, you smoke it, whatever, just whatever.
Screw up and
right. Don't be selling it.
On you.
Don't be selling it. That's illegal. But you want to, whatever, like you said, grow it and give it away, whatever. We're not involved. We're not involved.
Exactly.
Connecticut, we're selling $3 million licenses. And
that that whole thing got murky too, because there was that whole social equity thing where they were supposed to include and everything, and that turned into a disaster. And
mass little lawsuits, I think, coming out on that.
Yeah. And they should be, because they put it out there that this is going to be, we're going to do this and we're going to give back, and that was the whole premise of the thing. So I don't know.
To make it right, and they were trying to make it right with those negatively affected by the marijuana arrests, and so I don't think they did it right. Let's just if you're gonna get off the prohibition of it, get off the prohibition of it. Just be done with it, And then I thought we should have used our model that we do for alcohol in terms of package stores or liquor stores, so you want to call it. Use that model. We're very good at that. We really are. Use that model. This is how many little stores you can have for dispensaries, and you can only own this many of the little stores and be equitable that way. We had the perfect scenario to use the alcohol model that we have in Connecticut. But
and then the infrastructure is all set up, so it could have just been mirrored, you know what I mean? And it saves all that, doesn't create all those jobs, those government jobs that you need.
Yeah, you wouldn't. Nope, you really wouldn't need them because the policies are there. The enforcement you might have needed more people to go enforce it, but just mirror the law like we did alcohol.
Yeah.
So make it simple. You got the alcohol. Anyways, but
You're making a lot of sense. You better
that's great.
Pipe down.
Better stop talking. Don't make any more sense.
That's right. Yeah, we'll have a road marijuana tax.
Yeah, exactly. I think we might have done that.
Yeah, marijuana tolls. Where you have to give up a little bit of your pot to get
through, right?
Resell or something.
It's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting. I have some associates that I know that have the marijuana facilities in Massachusetts.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, and they do very well. They have a big business and they pay people very well that work in that business. We have hemp producers here in Connecticut now. I didn't know, but if you went and looked at two plants, like I think of hemp as something different, right? But hemp and cannabis,
they look the same.
Oh my gosh, the difference is THC, right? Yep. THC. The hemp growers go, how come we're not like automatic growers for this? Because we can just take those plants and bring the other plants in. And we can even do some hemp plants. And we can make marijuana plants. They're not even in the conversation right now. They're in the conversation now. I was actually appointed to a working group that never met because the chair of the working group decided, we're just going to put legislation together. Why don't we actually bring in the people that were appointed to be on the committee, to be on the working group, get together, see how we can help the hemp producers, and what I think is going to be a backlog in sales, or not sales, but in terms of product when people go on the 10th and 11th and 12th to try to get their recreational marijuana, and we're all sold out. After an hour in. Like we go on, the little meat store the other day had specials on tomahawk steaks. I go, I get there an hour after it opened. I go, we don't have any of those left.
Yeah, they were gone the first 5 minutes. We had 3.
Like January 10th. It's going to be a disaster. They're going to go in there and be like, to open at 10 a.m. and at 10:10 it's sold out of the recreational marijuana. You're going to have some upset,
You're going to have to go to that ice cream truck right on the corner.
The black market guys, it's all got all the leaves pointed all over it, right? Yeah, come over here.
Yeah, that's right.
Come to the dinging bell and get it from the window here.
That's funny. That is too funny.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, we'll see how that goes. Well, anyways, so what are your hopes here going into this thing? Our half-hour interview's now about an hour or so.
Yeah,
we're doing good. It's great.
No, so listen. Part of it is seeing what is important. I'm going to have some kind of like open house events and talk to people about what's important to them. I think some of the areas that I'm already focused on is continue my work at Friendly Foundations. The Eversource issue is really hurting people hard in the wallets. Those are kind of some of the things that we worked on today. That's why I was at it. The HUT tax. I'm putting in legislation to eliminate the HUT tax. The highway use tax is just. And so I think our caucus is doing the same thing. Also, a big thing for me is jobs, and mainly people like in the trades, increasing the job opportunities.
Yeah, you've been a real leader there. Thank you for that. And one of my things that I would like to see now, my son, as I told you, goes to CT Aerotech, best deal in the state, $6,800 for 2 years, or you could go pay $180,000 down at Embry-Riddle for the same certs.
Wow.
Right. And everybody in there who completes that is going to get a job where the airline starts you at $47 an hour. And the whole deal. But the tech schools, and I did a postgraduate welding program years ago at Ellis down there. They just do such a great job. And what I think one of the issues that's really a big deal is that the trades and the college-bound kids should be in class together, and they should take basic courses in trades, just that, wood shop and maybe some electrical types of things, or just so they understand that, and that the people they're in with are who are going to go off and get degrees and be engineers and whatnot will understand. Both groups will understand each other, because the way it is now is that we have a separate technical high school from, say, a college-bound high school that doesn't offer much in the way of any type of skill set training or technical training. But you know, the reason we have problems now between classes of people are because we don't intermingle. And if your friends are there through high school that you have throughout life, maybe that could be a way that it helps to solve that type of a problem in society. I don't know.
So I'm working with Home Builders and Remodelers Association at the national level. They came in and did a presentation, and right now they have an offer that they're presenting to the state Department of Education that if they can bring in their programs, and essentially the industrial arts program, right, that we all took many years ago, so they shut all the industrial arts out of the schools and bring in the trades into high school for them, the students to get training on basic trades. So when they get out, they're going to have a class already in carpentry or possibly welding, roofing, electrical, just to get a taste of it, so they have some basic understanding of it in high school. And the national organization is going to pay the school a fee to graduate these students in the programs of $1,000. Pay the school to implement the plan that they provide to help, and pay the teacher. They pay the teacher. They bring the program in. This is the focus that they have, and they presented that to the governor's office, and the governor's very interested in working with them. But here's the thing: we have the talent. We can have more talent. We have job openings, but we have hiring restrictions on trades in the state of Connecticut that is absolutely broken. Another broken issue, that we limit the amount that tradespeople can hire. It's just, if people could understand it, we have a hiring restriction. Plumbers, electricians, HVAC, pipe fitters, they all have hiring restrictions on hiring apprentices to get the training. So we provide them a school, we provide them the opportunity, there's job openings. The state is not allowing them to be hired through legislation.
Well,
I've been trying to change it.
Yeah, well, thank you for that. And like, if they can plop these into schools where your college kids and your trade kids are together having lunch and shop together and in class together, I think that generationally will make a huge difference in how we all get along and our politics and everything else.
Think about that. The mechanical engineer that you're talking about, right, is now working with the mechanical tradesperson. So understanding the application. So I can do all the design work, but sometimes that application is better by the technician that knows how to install them and mirror them together,
Yeah, any mechanic that's ever taken apart anything is generally swearing at the engineer for how hard it is, and the engineer's like, well, you just don't understand the intricacies. Well, no, I can't get the bolt out because the wrench won't fit up there, right? And then I'm the guy, the contractor in the middle, like talking to the engineer. No, what he means is this: you're not a blankety blank. You just can't get the bolt out because it had to go in. And and so there is this gap that exists there between design and implementation and fixing stuff, and I think that relationships that were made in high school where you were surrounded by this or immersed in both would be beneficial. So I totally agree with that. And then Susan is coming on Monday.
Awesome.
So I'll put that one forward to her.
Yeah.
And
they're all interested in it. It's just that unfortunately the unions dictate this legislation. Unfortunately, they're stuck and said this cannot get passed in the state of Connecticut, and it's about jobs for both union and non-union shops. It's about getting people in the trades and getting them working and helping the consumer, because when there's less of somebody, right, less electricians, the rates go up.
Yeah.
And I'm a business person, right?
Sure.
I get that. So would I love to raise my rates? You know, I'm not going to do that. It's just I can't sleep at night, right? But there's others that can, you know. But I would rather see more people working in the trades than not, right? More people in trades. Maybe the price won't go up so high, so people can afford an electrician. They're not going to try to do it on their own. They can afford a plumber. They can afford, you know, the HVAC, new heating and cooling in their house, so they can have a nice, cool or a warm house, right?
Mm-hmm.
Afford the carpenter. You know, the roof is not so expensive. They can replace their roof, you know, by tradespeople. So it's a good consumer bill, good worker bill, you know, and
and let's face it, there's all kinds of job openings for skilled tradespeople in this state. It's out of control. I was worked in civil site work. I've been a contractor for 38 years. God, I'm old. But what I did a lot of the human resource stuff and probably interviewed maybe 2,000-3,000 people over this 7-year period for doing civil construction, and I was a project manager estimator for that as well. And finding quality people to work hard jobs is extremely difficult. It's a very small pool of people. You have to pay a premium to get somebody who's going to show up and be responsible and do a good job. And I would say that 5 to 10% of the people that I interviewed met that qualification, right? And so that was very telling to me, is that even if you wanted to have a good company and everything, the hurdles in finding good talent that's going to make you money and build your business is extremely difficult to do.
Yeah, it is. It's hard now. And, you know, I literally had I remember a person coming in, hey, I'm looking for a job, and I said, okay, I'll see you. What time works for you? He goes 10:30, tomorrow. Great. No, nothing. No.
My second lunch.
I'm there at 10:30. I'm like, maybe, hey, just texting. I'm at this address, and nothing. Crickets.
Yeah. It's discouraging, but then par for the course, so that you just expect it. The gate, you get a little jaded for that. And I wake up automatically at 5 a.m. every day, and that's because I worked in the oil fields as a trucker, hauling water to frac sites when the economy was bad, and then being a contractor, that's when our work happens, right? If you're not on the job at 7 a.m., then you've burned off that much more daylight, and you're going to find it at the end of the day. And I always thought, as a small business person, that I was the working guy. Right? They're always talking about the working people. Hey, that's me. Everybody else went home at 4, and I'm still here.
You're still here.
9 o'clock at night, cleaning and sweeping up your mess to get up and do it again. And that led me to actually, that was one of the factors in switching from the Democratic Party in 2011 and becoming a Republican, and then everything that followed from there. So, but let's wrap this up. I'm going to be up at the Capitol tomorrow.
Perfect.
Canning little interviews. So if you see me around there, jump in, and we'll do another couple hours, Tim.
Listen, I love the conversation.
Yeah. Well, let the colleagues know, let folks know that we're doing this, and we have 5 nights a week. 5:30 to 6 is when we do the interviews. If there's a hardship with that, we can can them, record them all and get them on. And we have, 4 or 5 anchors. So you get a fair shake from any of us. But we'll come from different perspectives. You'll have a independent or libertarian, center right, center left, or conservative or Democrat. But what we want is just like you and I did. We had a wonderful conversation. We're friends before, we're friends after. We talked through a bunch of things. We found a lot that we agreed on, and not much that we didn't. Right.
Common sense. A lot of it's just, hey, We all have different philosophies in some cases, and as long as we understand maybe how I got to that philosophy, how I understand how you got to that, and you can say, okay, I get it.
Yeah.
I will work on a better background because I am being showed up pretty. Your background is I got to work.
I'll tell you, once you get green screen capable, then we can put this background and it'll look like we're sitting right next to each other in the studio.
There you go. Now we're talking.
So we can do that type of thing. But we're looking forward to being a big part of the legislative session this time.
Perfect.
And we're streaming out actually around the world on Roku, Amazon, and Apple Television, as well as on the social media platforms. So, I've done a lot of crazy antics here the last couple of years to say, hey, look at me, look at me. And everybody's like, don't look at him. Yeah. But they know who we are now, and that really we have the best interest of everyone to kind of bring together. We're going to do some live events up at Hartford where people can come. You can come and be a guest in a live show and talk. People can ask questions, and it'll be a lot of fun where we can have a bunch of people come through and have a good time. So.
Well, it should be a good time here tomorrow. It looks like, so then I'm not going to the ball tomorrow night.
But what? You're not paying the $250?
No, it's only $200. Yeah,
it's only $200.
And my tux isn't clean, so I couldn't go. So.
your work tux, your embroidered Akert electric work tux.
Yeah.
I don't know that. And that thing to me sounded a bit of a debacle. And I know that Joe Aguirre, who is our center left guy, kind of asked Susan and some other folks, like, why not, if Ned made $54 million, why doesn't he just pay for it instead of having lobbyists donate gigantic sums of money?
Right. It's not. But it's not for whatever. It's like whatever. It does.
Here they are on my doorstep.
Still a pig. So I'm just saying.
Didn't I see you at the ball last night? No. What do you want?
Yeah, just because we're paying all this money, it's not. We don't want anything for it.
Yeah. So what Joe's take on it is like, look, perhaps that's the case, but the optics are pretty bad, right?
Yeah.
And I think what they should do is like a lottery thing for of course they'd never do this, but they have a lottery for the ball and let people, play the lottery. That's how they pay for it, right? You pay your dollar. You want to go to the ball?
Yeah. And whoever gets it gets in.
Tickets, yeah. And then there'd be like 2 lobbyists there who bought all the tickets.
Yeah, right. Yeah. yeah, you're probably right.
Probably would,
Yeah. No, I will be at this, State of the Union, State of Connecticut Union tomorrow. Looking forward to that. I'm looking for the direction he wants to take. One. Yeah, so we have ours that we meet at 10 to get sworn in. There's a joint session between the Senate and the House at 12. And then the governor comes in and addresses us at 1 o'clock. So that'll be, an interesting take as to where he sees he wants Connecticut to go to the next 4 years. So,
yeah, that's always a good. It's always a
sense as to what we're going to be working on, right?
Yeah. Now, after that concludes, does everybody just bail out, or do you guys go right to work on stuff, or?
No, it's a social day, to be honest.
Yeah.
Day. I'm going to go back to my other office and go back to work.
Yeah, that's right. Somebody's got to pay the tax.
Go see if I can get my tux clean, maybe.
Yeah. Well, excellent. Thank you so much, Representative Tim Akert of the 8th District.
Yeah.
Doing a great job, and I look forward. I hope I bump into you tomorrow, and and we'll continue this through the session and give some people glimpses on the inside of the committee process. Now, what committees are you on?
So I'm on general law, which deals with, occupational licensing, alcohol, now marijuana. So I'm on that committee. I'm also in energy and technology. That's where I get all my background in energy resources and anaerobic digesters is where I learn a lot about that. And I got appointed the the ranking member of labor.
Wow.
Yeah, that's not typically. People go, "Oh,
that's good." I think I did my internship with Christopher Donovan, and Edith Craig was the chair.
Yeah.
And Chris was the co-chair.
Yeah.
And that was my initiation, my baptism to fire.
Yeah.
And I was the majority leader, David Pudlin from New Britain, told me, he said, you can set up a party for the JF deadline, can't you, in the labor committee? And I said, sure, right? And so I was, playing in bands and everything. So I got trash cans full of booze and a bunch of handles and everything. And it was a blowout party. Everybody had a great time. And then he called me over to the Oak Club the next day. I thought to buy me lunch, but I had to buy him a drink. And then he put me on the Jepson for Governor campaign and mentored me running the statewide governor's race, which as a contractor, I was in with kids just out of college who didn't know how to. So I was just, I'm bang, bang, bang. Oh, go create 10 phone banks. I'm like, sure, and then from there I went on to the unions and all that stuff, and it was quite a time. So, but anyway.
Yeah. So that's and then I was appointed deputy. So deputy minority leader. So
congratulations. That's a big deal.
It is. It's a big deal. That's
a big deal.
Yeah. So I got a lot on my plate. From
you got a pay raise, right?
Pay raise.
Sucking down that tax money.
Yeah, more. Right. It's all good. It's all good.
Yeah, kind of. It covers the road tax.
We're gonna have the road tax will help me.
That's right. All right.
All right.
Well, have a good evening, Tim. Thank you so much for being on. And
you too, Dan.
Thank
you. Yeah, really enjoyed
it. Check out that technical thing. That was a little scary.
Yeah, I will. Yeah, I don't know what's going on. Yeah, you got it. We'll do. I'll let my staff look at that.
Thank you. Bye-bye. All right. Well, there you go. That was Representative Tim Akert. And I don't even know if anybody can hear me now or if this even went out. Hopefully it did. Sometimes technical issues come up because a lot of the people that we interview must be Zoom capable. And, given technology today, once the internet gives you some jitters or things aren't functioning right, that all kind of goes to into the basket pretty quick, like it did tonight. But that's good. I guess I talked for a half an hour as just a black screen. So to my co-anchor Jimmy J, who hit the home run last night. It wasn't the follow-up show that I had hoped for, but boy, I sure stayed on with Tim Akert for a good while, and everybody got their money's worth there, huh? But if you're up at the Capitol tomorrow, stop by and say hi for us here at CT Politics TV. Get a picture there, and maybe we'll end up put you on the website and everything. And for the state reps, state senators, stop by and say hi. I'm going to be just doing some short 2-3 minute hello, how are you, what do you hope for the session, and get to meet a lot of folks because we want to talk to everyone, both sides of the aisle, get them on here so everybody out there can figure out what their state reps are doing and their senators are doing on their behalf. Senator Heather Summers told me today to look her up tomorrow, and Nicole Claridis Ditria is my friend Themis's little sister, and she's a state rep up there doing a great job, just like her big sister did. And I like to have declared us, send the CT Politics ship off. So it'll be great talking to her and all my other friends. So hope I see the journos and a bunch of the ops, and I want you out there to know that here at CT Politics TV, you're going to know what our background is, whether we're conservative, Democrat, liberal, independent, libertarian. We're going to read you the headlines from 5 to 5:30. Throw in your weather, right? Because everybody likes to hear the weather instead of going through the process of looking at your phone. Then we just like to be told the weather, right? Now, what's it like outside? Well, you have a phone. Well, you were just out there. What's it like? Well, okay, it's a little rainy right now and about 40 something degrees. Okay. We'll actually read it off the iPhone to you. And then at 5:30, we'll bring a guest on, and you'll get to hear the insights from Hartford and the Capitol and the inside of politics, and get the benefit of all these people who've been friends and colleagues of mine for over 3 decades now. It seemed to go by so fast, right? But I'm trying to figure out, how do I take, all that crazy campaign stuff that I've worked on and in the cities and the country and for all these different parties, and how do I to use that or give that to you, has been kind of my life's work since I went on the radio with my CBS show on WJJF, Political Class, and the Dan Newmeyer show for 3 years, which was a big success. And I left that at the top of my game to start doing this. It just took me 4 years to figure out how to have a technical disaster like I did tonight. So please follow us on Twitter at CT Politics TV. And you can always go to the website where the 24-hour feed is playing at ctpolitics.tv. And of course, this is television, so we are streaming live on Roku, Apple, and Amazon Fire TV packages, right? Where 70% of the people now watch their television. So it's a great source for advertising, both locally, where the website kind of keys in from where people are coming from and live, and to bring them the great services our advertisers have with us. And it puts you in front of the entire legislature, the entire government sector, as well as the business, the top businesses of the state, and people who are just interested in learning more about politics. So that's it for me today. And I hope we get back to a regular show where we're not using cell phones for our guests. So tomorrow is the big State of the Union, 1 o'clock. And I'm going to do some streaming from the Capitol. So it should be a good time. And then we'll talk to people as they leave, and you'll get to know some more people up there who were elected by their towns to go up and do a good job. All right, that's it for me here, Dan Newmeyer at CT Politics TV. Thank you for watching, and there's more great politics coming, and we'll talk to you soon. Thank you.